So the other thing, the other sort of issue with Impossible Project's film was overexposure and the need to shield the film. So Impossible Project didn't hide this fact. They stated openly in all their instruction manuals, in all their websites, that the film needed to be shielded from light. Again, this is because they're designing film from scratch. Polaroid's original film, as I explained in a previous video, as the film would eject, had a layer of titanium oxide, or titanium dioxide, I can't remember which one, which would basically protect the film from light. It would form a layer that protected the film from light as it developed, because as we all know, film is light sensitive. Impossible Project, when they first came out, didn't have anything that would prevent the light, so you needed to shield your images from light. When you didn't, color film typically washed out and went incredibly orange like that. You can just about make out me sitting on a letterbox there. And when you use the black and white film, you were lucky to get anything at all if you didn't shield it from light. This one wasn't so bad. This is actually a shot that just escaped from me. The wind blew it away as I was trying to shield it, and so it went a little bit washed out. This one even more so. Currently, they, as of 2013, they have a new color film out called Color Protection, which does have a layer that helps shield it. It's still not perfect, but it's a heck of a lot better to shoot. In bright sun, you still might get it turning a little orange, but it's a lot easier to shoot. Now, Impossible Project have come up with ways of shielding the film, like frog tongues, the flap on the SX70s. They've just released a new SX70 frog tongue as I'm releasing this video. And again, if your images are coming washed out, it's probably because you're not shielding them properly. Now, if your images are coming out totally black or totally dark, this could be a few things. Number one, your camera might not be working, so the shutter might not be firing, and it's only the film advance that's working. Or number two, you're using a camera that does not have a built-in flash. The amount of people that contact me all the time wondering why their SX70 cameras don't work indoors without a flash just boggles my mind. If your camera does not have a flash, odds are you're not going to get an exposure indoors. If you do, it'll be a long exposure and it'll be very blurry. So a long exposure and long exposures, unless you hold the camera perfectly still, all the light entering the camera will blur and you'll end up with this wishy-washy, crazy-looking photo, if anything happens at all. So typically it's only the folding SX70s, the SLR680 and the Spectra that are sort of capable of long exposures that are any decent. The rigid 600s don't really do it, the rigid SX70s don't really do it that well. And so typically your photos will come out blank. And that's just because you haven't used a flash. They weren't designed to be used indoors without a flash. Indoor use and very shady areas, you were supposed to use a flash back in the day. So if you don't, your images will typically come out very dark. Other issues that happen is sometimes, I don't have an example of this because it's never happened to me, but sometimes you'll get like a series of dots going down like in a straight line in very regular intervals down your picture. That is probably because there is something trapped in your rollers, so your rollers that spread the developer are dirty, and they might have a chunk of like leftover developer goo, and basically as that roller's going, it's going bloop, 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 and in regular intervals is affecting the film, basically causing pressure and uneven developer spread, and you get these white dots appearing. That's easy to fix, you just clean your rollers. The last thing I wanted to talk about was crystallization. Now, this only really affects the older generation of Impossible Project film. I'm going to try and hold that up there, see if you can see any of the crystals forming. But basically it's got this mottled appearance. That happens when the black and white film isn't stored properly. Typically very humid environments do this, and it's basically just moisture getting in and continuing the chemical reaction to the point where crystals are growing, which is kind of cool from a scientific point of view, but probably not optimal for your film. Impossible Project released some drying kits, which basically consisted of a Ziploc bag with some silicone desiccants that would absorb all the moisture. Those work really, really, really great. Once the image is dried out, it won't shift. The other thing that I like to do to speed up the process is I cut some slits in the back of my film along the developer pods, and that basically allows it to air dry out. And typically isn't affected as long as you, and it won't crystallize as long as you get them inside and not in a humid environment. Again, typically only a problem in the older generation of films. as I've been shooting the newer black and white, and this is only black and white by the way, that has the crystallization effect. Color film is not affected. I've been using some of the newer generation black and whites, and it doesn't really happen. So it's only the older stuff. Again, as the Impossible Project improve, it'll get better and better and better. So that's sort of all the issues that I can think of that are commonly asked to me about, oh, why has my photo turned out like this? As far as the sort of more experimental batches of Impossible Project film, I often quite like the effects that it gives you. A lot of the times the unpredictability of it is sort of one of the most fun aspects. Same with the shifted colours. It means that your photos will always be interesting looking, even if they're a total failure. So yeah, I really hope that that helps a lot of you guys out. I had started a frequently asked questions area on my Facebook page in a photo album where people could look through. That typically involved a lot of reading, and it appears that my message wasn't getting through. Hopefully this video helps a lot of you guys out there. I know you've been listening to me waffle on for 20 minutes now, but hopefully some of it got through and yeah, helped a few of you guys out. So thanks for watching, guys.